The Road to Nana's House Part 1. The Long Way Home, ******. The road to Nana's house had always been quiet, too quiet. Perhaps, when Ethan was younger, he used to like that, the stillness, the whisper of the trees, the way the sunlight would drip through the leaves like honey. But that was years ago. Things had changed. Now. As he walked alone with his small backpack and the sun sinking low behind him, the silence no longer felt peaceful. It felt watchful. The bus had dropped him off 2 miles earlier, right at the turn that led into Old Mill Road, a long stretch of cracked asphalt, curling through the woods like a forgotten scar. The bus driver had warned him with a half-dash smile. You sure you wanna walk that way, kid? Ain't much out there but trees. Ethan had laughed it off. It's fine. I used to come here all the time. The driver just shook his head. Suit yourself. Roads remember things, though. Some better left forgotten. Those words stuck with him now as he trudged forward. The sky was turning violet, the air cooling with each breath. The road twisted gently ahead, framed by tall pines that leaned in close, as if eavesdropping. Every so often, a bird would startle from a branch its wings, a sudden crack in the silence. Ethan tried to distract himself by humming, but the sound died in his throat. It felt wrong to make noise here, as though the air itself didn't want to be disturbed. He checked his phone, no signal, of course. It had dropped the moment he left the main road. 2 miles. Just 2 miles, he told himself. Then Nana's place. Warm lights, cocoa, and her old radio humming some soft tune. He smiled at the thought. But then he noticed something. The woods had gone darker, not just from the fading sun, but unnaturally so. The trees looked denser now, their branches intertwining overhead, forming something like a tunnel. The air smelled different too, heavy, damp, like rain that hadn't fallen yet. And then came the sound. It started faintly, a soft tapping, tap, 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 like footsteps, maybe. But not behind him. Beside him? In the trees, he stopped. Listening, silence. He took another step. Tap, tap, there it was again. Probably just a branch. He muttered to himself. Or a squirrel. He quickened his pace. The sound matched him not perfectly, but close enough to raise goosebumps along his arms. By the time the first mile passed, the light had nearly gone. The only glow came from the faint silver band of the moon, just beginning to rise through the trees. It made the road shimmer slightly, as if it were wet. But when he looked down, it was dry, cracked, and dusty. The tapping stopped for a while. There was only the whisper of wind through the trees. He breathed in slowly, trying to calm his racing heart. That's when he saw the signpost. It stood crooked at the side of the road, half buried in weeds. The metal was rusted, the paint peeled, but the letters were still visible enough to read. Greater than, Old Mill Road -3 miles, he frowned. That couldn't be right. The turnoff from the main highway said Nana's place was only 2 miles down this road. He checked the direction again. The path behind him stretched empty, straight, no turns, no forks. Then why did the sign say 3 miles? A chill crept up his spine. He shook it off and kept walking. A few minutes later, he noticed something else. The road seemed to dip slightly, sloping downward into a patch of fog that hugged the ground like smoke. It wasn't thick, but enough to make the shapes ahead blur and shimmer. He hesitated. He didn't remember fog here. Still. He pushed forward. The air grew colder as he entered the mist. The trees loomed closer, their shapes distorted, stretched. The sound of his footsteps felt amplified, each crunch of gravel echoing far too loudly. And then came another sound, a whisper. He froze. It was faint, like a voice carried on the wind. He turned slowly, scanning the trees. Nothing, but the whisper came again, this time closer. Not words exactly, more like breath, a faint sigh brushing his ear. He spun around. No one. His heart hammered. He told himself it was just the wind. It had to be. But then he noticed something that made the blood drain from his face. On the road ahead, in the middle of the fog, stood a figure. It was faint, almost transparent, like a shadow made of mist, tall, still watching him. Ethan froze, every muscle locking in place. He blinked, and the figure was gone. He swallowed hard, forcing a shaky laugh. Fog tricks, he whispered. Just fog tricks. But when he took a step forward, the air around him seemed to move. The fog curled toward him, like invisible hands reaching out. He stumbled back, clutching his backpack strap. That's when his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out quickly. The screen flickered. A single notification flashed across it before the signal vanished again. Don't walk the road after dark. He stared at it. The message was from Nana. But how? She didn't even have a cell phone. The screen went black. His pulse thundered in his ears. No, he said out loud, his voice trembling. No, this is stupid. I'm just tired. It's late. I'm seeing things. He shoved the phone away and started walking faster. His footsteps echoed strangely now, like there were two sets instead of one. He glanced over his shoulder. Nothing there. When he looked forward again, his breath caught. There was a house up ahead, not Nana's. He knew that instantly. This one was smaller, darker. The windows were boarded up. The front door hung crookedly on its hinges. A mailbox leaned beside it, its letters half erased by time. He shouldn't have been surprised. Old Mill Road had a few abandoned places. But something about this one felt wrong. The fog thickened around it. And as he passed, he swore he heard something from inside, a faint creak. Like footsteps moving slowly across an old wooden floor. He froze again. The sound stopped. Just keep going, he muttered. Don't look. But he did. Through one of the gaps between the boards, he saw a flicker of light, faint yellowish, like a candle burning somewhere deep inside. And for a moment, just one impossible moment, he thought he saw a face behind the window, pale, motionless, eyes wide open. He stumbled backward, tripped over a root, and nearly fell. His breath came in sharp bursts. When he looked again, the light was gone. Ethan didn't wait. He ran. Asterisk, the road seemed longer now, stretching endlessly ahead. His footsteps pounded against the cracked pavement. The trees blurred by, the air tearing at his throat. Asterisk, he didn't stop until he saw another sign, this one newer, clearer, greater than Maple Ridge 1 mile. He frowned, confused. That wasn't the name of Nana's area. It was on the other side of town, miles away. Asterisk, he turned, trying to retrace his steps. But behind him, the road had changed. Asterisk, the fog had thickened into a wall. The trees looked different, twisted, gnarled, unfamiliar. Even the air smelled strange, sharp, metallic. Asterisk, panic clawed at his chest. Oh no no. He reached for his phone again, dead. He tried calling out, "Hello, anyone?" Only the echo of his own voice came back. Then, from somewhere behind him, a whisper answered, but this time it spoke. "Keep walking." Asterisk. Ethan spun around, but there was no one. Just darkness, stretching on forever. Asterisk, he could feel his pulse in his throat. His breath came in sharp, uneven bursts. The road beneath his shoes felt softer now, not gravel, but something else. Asterisk. He crouched down, shining his phone's dead screen like a mirror. The light caught the surface. It wasn't road anymore. It was soil, fresh, damp, like earth recently turned, graves. He stumbled back in horror, tripping over something hard beneath the dirt, a shape smooth and cold. When he brushed away the soil, he saw the faint curve of a stone marker, asterisk, and carved into it, barely visible, was a name greater than Ethan Rowe, his own name. Asterisk, he froze, trembling, staring at the letters. His breath stopped. Asterisk, the world around him seemed to shiver, the fog thickening, the air turning colder, sharper. Asterisk then, from somewhere deep within the woods, came the sound of footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate, one step, another. Closer. He turned to run, but his legs felt heavy, as if the ground itself was gripping him. The footsteps stopped. A voice whispered again, low and hollow. Asterisk, you shouldn't have come back. Asterisk, the fog exploded into motion, swirling, clawing, wrapping around him like hands. He screamed, stumbled forward, and everything went black. When Ethan opened his eyes, he was lying on a bed. Asterisk, the smell of lavender filled the air. The curtains fluttered gently. Somewhere, an old clock ticked steadily. Asterisk, he sat up, blinking. He was in a familiar room, small, cozy, lined with photos. Asterisk, Nana's house. He whispered. Asterisk, the door creaked open, and there she was, her silver hair tied in a bun, eyes kind and warm. She smiled softly. Asterisk, you had a long walk, dear, she said. Rest now. Asterisk, Ethan stared at her, his voice trembling. Nana, how did I get here? Asterisk. But she only smiled again, and for just a moment, her face flickered. The smile didn't move, the eyes didn't blink. Asterisk, the shadow behind her didn't match her body. Asterisk, and then darkness again. The Road to Nana's House Part 2. The house with silent walls. Asterisk, when Ethan opened his eyes again, sunlight poured through the curtains. Asterisk, for a moment, he thought last night had been nothing more than a dream. The fog, the whispers, the grave, all fragments of a nightmare his tired mind had woven together. Asterisk, he sat up slowly. The bed beneath him was soft, the sheets crisp and clean. The room smelled faintly of lavender and wood polish, the same scent that always lingered in Nana's house. Asterisk, everything looked exactly the way he remembered. The rocking chair by the window, the bookshelf lined with old photo albums, the tiny porcelain lamp shaped like an owl. Asterisk, except something felt off. Asterisk, he couldn't say what it was, exactly. The light seemed to still, the air too heavy. And somewhere, under all that warmth and calm, there was a faint hum, like a quiet vibration running through the walls. Asterisk, morning, sweetheart. Asterisk, Ethan turned. Nana stood at the door, smiling. Her silver hair gleamed in the morning light. Her face was kind, just as he remembered, and yet different. The smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Asterisk, you slept all night, she said softly. You must have been exhausted. Asterisk, yeah, he muttered, rubbing his eyes. I think I got lost on the road. Asterisk, Nana chuckled. That old road does funny things to people, always has. Come on now, breakfast's ready. Asterisk, he followed her into the kitchen. The floorboards creaked under his feet, though her steps made no sound at all. Asterisk, the kitchen was bright, warm, the table laid with pancakes, eggs, and steaming coffee. It smelled wonderful. Ethan sat down slowly. Asterisk, as he ate, he looked around. Everything was in its usual place. The yellow curtains, the clock shaped like a cat, the glass jar full of marbles by the window. But then he noticed something strange. The clock's hands weren't moving. It showed 7:42, and stayed that way. He frowned. Nana, your clock's stuck again. Asterisk, she didn't look up. Oh, don't worry about that. It always stops when it wants to. Some things don't like being watched. Asterisk, he blinked. What? But she just smiled and poured him more coffee. After breakfast, he walked outside. The air was cool, the sky pale blue. The yard looked almost identical to how he remembered. The fence, the old swing, the rows of daisies near the porch. Asterisk, yet there were no sounds. Asterisk, no birds, no wind, no rustling leaves. Asterisk, it was as if the entire world had gone quiet, holding its breath. Asterisk, he stood there for a moment, uneasy. Then decided to check his phone. Dead again, no service, no battery, just a black screen reflecting his anxious face. Asterisk, when he looked up, Nana was standing on the porch, watching him. Asterisk, everything all right, dear? She asked. Asterisk, yeah, he said, forcing a smile. Just weird not having signal here. Asterisk, oh, you won't need that old thing. You're home now. The way she said it made him pause. Home. He nodded slowly. Yeah, I guess. Asterisk, she smiled again, that same too perfect curve of lips, and went back inside. Asterisk, Ethan decided to take a walk. Maybe it would clear his head. Asterisk, he followed the narrow dirt path behind the house, the one that led to the creek. He used to play there as a kid, skipping stones and chasing frogs. Asterisk, the forest looked the same, but different, as though the trees had grown closer together overnight. The deeper he went, the darker it became. The air grew thick with the smell of wet soil and moss. Asterisk halfway down the path. He stopped. Asterisk there was something lying near the roots of an old maple tree, a small wooden carving. Asterisk he knelt and picked it up. It was a figure roughly shaped like a person, arms stretched out. The surface was cracked, the wood blackened as if burned. Someone had carved letters into its chest, greater than ER, his initials. His breath caught. Asterisk, he looked around. Suddenly aware of how silent the woods were. The shadows between the trees seemed to pulse, shifting slightly when he wasn't looking. Asterisk, he placed the carving back down and stood, trying to shake the feeling. Asterisk, it's just something I left here years ago, he told himself. That's all. But deep down, he knew he hadn't. When he turned to go back, the path behind him looked different. Narrower, darker. Asterisk, he walked faster. The air grew heavier with each step, pressing against him. His heart thudded in his chest. Asterisk, then he saw something move, a shape low to the ground, slipping between the trees. It was quick, almost silent, but definitely there. Asterisk, he froze, eyes darting. Hello? No answer. He took one cautious step backward, and his foot landed on something soft. Asterisk, he looked down. It was another carving, smaller. This one had no letters. Asterisk, just a carved face with a mouth stretched into a wide, impossible grin. Asterisk, Ethan dropped it instantly. The woods seemed to shudder around him. Asterisk, a voice whispered through the air, faint, like wind through dry leaves. Asterisk, greater than you left us here. He spun around. Nothing. The shadows shifted again. And for a heartbeat, he thought he saw figures standing between the trees, pale, motionless shapes watching him. He ran, branches clawed at his jacket, roots snagged his shoes. He didn't look back until the house came into view again, small and still against the endless line of trees. Asterisk, he burst through the door, gasping. Asterisk, Nana was standing in the hallway. Her face was calm, but her eyes, they were darker now, almost black. Asterisk, where have you been, dear? She asked softly. Asterisk, I went to the creek, he stammered. There were things in the woods. Asterisk, her expression didn't change. You shouldn't wander too far. The woods don't like to be disturbed. Asterisk, he swallowed hard. What does that mean? Asterisk, Nana tilted her head slightly, smiling. You'll understand soon. Now wash up. Supper's ready. Asterisk, he wanted to ask more, but his voice caught. There was something about her smile, frozen, unmoving, that made his stomach twist. Asterisk, that evening, they sat at the dinner table. The candlelight flickered softly across the walls. Asterisk, the air felt thick, heavy with the scent of cooked vegetables and something metallic underneath. Asterisk, Ethan pushed his food around the plate, barely eating. Nana sat across from him, motionless, eyes fixed on him. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. Nana, are you sure you're okay? Asterisk, she didn't blink. Of course, dear. Why wouldn't I be? Asterisk, I don't know. You just seem different. Her smile didn't falter. Oh, people change with time. Even houses change. But the road, she leaned forward slightly, the road remembers. Asterisk, his heart skipped. What? Asterisk, the road brought you back for a reason, Ethan. Asterisk, he stared at her. What are you talking about? Asterisk, but she only reached out and patted his hand. Her skin felt ice cold. Asterisk, finish your meal. We don't want it to go to waste. Asterisk, he couldn't eat another bite. He pushed back his chair, mumbling something about being tired, and went to his room. Asterisk, the hallway felt longer than before. The lights flickered faintly overhead. Asterisk, as he passed the mirror. He caught his reflection, but it didn't move when he did. Asterisk, he stopped, breath catching. His reflection stood there, staring at him, its head tilted just slightly out of sync. Asterisk, he stepped closer. The glass trembled faintly, and for a second, the reflection smiled, even though he didn't. Asterisk, he stumbled back, heart pounding, and ran to his room. Asterisk, he locked the door, sat on the bed, and tried to steady his breathing. Asterisk, outside. The wind had started to howl, though no leaves moved. Then he heard footsteps, slow, dragging, moving down the hallway. They stopped right outside his door. A faint whisper came through the crack beneath it, greater than, "Don't let her in." Asterisk, his blood ran cold. "Who's there?" he whispered. No reply, only the slow, steady sound of breathing on the other side of the door. Asterisk, and then 3 soft knocks. Knock, knock, knock. "Ethan." Nana's voice called sweetly. "You forgot to say good night." Asterisk, he sat frozen, staring at the handle as it began to turn slowly, silently. He grabbed a chair and jammed it under the doorknob, backing away. The handle rattled once, then stopped. Asterisk, a long silence followed. Then, faintly, from the other side, asterisk, "The road brought you home." The voice wasn't Nana's anymore. It was deeper, older, asterisk, and it was smiling. The Road to Nana's House, Part 3. The whisper beneath the floorboards, asterisk. Ethan didn't sleep that night. Asterisk, he sat on the edge of the bed, long after the knocking stopped. The silence pressing down on him like a weight. Every sound made him flinch. The creak of old wood. The faint groan of wind against the walls. The tick of a clock that wasn't really ticking. Asterisk, at some point. He must have drifted into a restless daze, because when he opened his eyes again, the room was dark and the lamp was off, but he hadn't turned it off. The air felt heavy still, as though the entire house were holding its breath again. Asterisk, then, from beneath the floorboards, he heard it. A faint whisper, not clear, not words, more like a muffled chant. Rising and falling like someone talking just under the surface of the earth. Asterisk, he froze, straining to hear, asterisk, double quotes, ... help. The voice was faint, distant, maybe a trick of the wind. He leaned down, pressing his ear against the wooden floor. It was cold, he could feel. Vibrations, soft, rhythmic, like someone breathing underneath. Asterisk, hello. His voice cracked slightly. Is someone down there? The whisper stopped. Then, just as he started to pull away, something tapped once from below, sharp and deliberate. He stumbled back, heart hammering. Okay, he whispered. That didn't just happen. Asterisk, he sat there in the dark for what felt like hours, until, finally, the first gray light of dawn crept through the window. Asterisk, when he stepped outside later that morning, the fog was already rolling back in from the woods. The trees swayed without wind. The world looked washed out, like a photograph fading from memory. Asterisk Nana was standing by the porch again, humming softly to herself. Asterisk sleep well? She asked. Asterisk Ethan forced a nod. Yeah, I guess. Asterisk she smiled, though her eyes didn't move. Good, you'll need your rest. The road's not done with you yet. Asterisk he frowned. What does that mean? But she had already turned away. Asterisk inside, the house felt different. The warmth that had greeted him before was gone, replaced by a chill that sank deep into the walls. The light flickered faintly, and the smell of lavender had turned faintly sour, like something rotting beneath perfume. Asterisk Ethan decided to explore. He needed to understand where the whisper came from. Asterisk he checked the hallway, the closet, the tiny attic door above the stairs. Dust hung thick in the air, catching in the thin beams of morning light. Asterisk when he opened the basement door. A cold draft hit his face. Asterisk the steps creaked as he descended, his flashlight trembling in his hand. Asterisk the basement smelled of damp earth and mildew. Old furniture was covered in sheets. Rusted tools hung from the walls, and in the far corner there was a trap door. It looked newer than the rest of the floor, its wooden frame oddly smooth, the hinges free of rust. A faint humming seemed to come from beneath it. Asterisk. Ethan crouched and pressed his ear to the wood. Nothing. He started to pull back. But then, a whisper, clear and fragile, rose from below. Asterisk greater than you shouldn't have come back. Asterisk he jerked backward, heart pounding. The flashlight flickered once, twice, then went out. Asterisk in the dark, he could hear movement. Slow scraping, like fingernails dragging against the wood from underneath. Asterisk stop, he whispered, his voice shaking. Just stop. The sound stopped immediately. Then, after a long silence, 3 soft knocks. Knock, knock, knock. He stumbled up the stairs, slamming the basement door shut behind him. His breathing came in ragged gasps. Asterisk when he turned around, Nana was standing at the end of the hallway. Asterisk why were you down there, Ethan? Her tone was calm, but her voice sounded wrong, layered like 2 people speaking in perfect unison. Asterisk he swallowed hard. I heard something. From the floor. Asterisk her expression didn't change. You mustn't listen to the ones below. Asterisk the ones below, he whispered. Asterisk they never learned to stay quiet. Asterisk she walked toward him slowly, each step echoing louder than it should have. Promise me, Ethan, you'll stay out of the dark places. He nodded quickly, though his mind was spinning. Good, she said softly. The house is old. It remembers. That evening, he tried to call his parents again. Still no signal. The phone battery, which had been at 60% that morning, was now completely drained. Asterisk he plugged it in anyway, watching the empty black screen reflect his pale face. Asterisk he could hear Nana humming downstairs again. The same tune, slow and looping, a lullaby he remembered from childhood. Asterisk he closed his eyes. The melody used to comfort him. Now it made his skin crawl. Asterisk he decided to check the photo albums in the living room. Maybe he'd find something, a clue, anything that made sense. Asterisk he opened the old leather-bound album on the table. The pages were yellowed, the photos faded, Asterisk, but as he flipped through them, something made his blood run cold. Asterisk, in every picture of him as a child, Nana looked the same. Exactly the same. Not just older, identical, asterisk, same face. Same expression, same age. Even in photos decades apart. He turned another page and froze. Asterisk, there was a photograph of the house. Not as it looked now, but burned, blackened. The windows shattered, the roof caved in. Smoke still rose from the ruins. Asterisk, written below it, in thin black ink, were the words, asterisk, greater than fire. June 18, 2009. No survivors. Asterisk, Ethan's hands trembled. He turned the page, but the next photo was blank. Just a sheet of yellowed paper. Asterisk, he stood, heart pounding, and looked around. Asterisk, the house seemed to shift around him faintly, like the air itself was warping. The wallpaper rippled. The clock's hands began to move backward. Asterisk, stop, he whispered, gripping his head. Just stop. Then, from the hallway footsteps, he turned slowly. A figure was standing there. At first, he thought it was Nana. But no, this one was taller. Its face was pale, featureless, except for a faint, painted smile. Its hands hung limp, the fingers too long. The nails dark and cracked. It took a step forward, and the floor groaned. Ethan stumbled backward, slamming into the table. The photo album hit the floor, pages scattering. Asterisk, the figure moved closer, tilting its head. Then, in a voice that wasn't a voice, dry, hollow, like air through a broken pipe, it whispered, asterisk, greater than you left us. Ethan bolted for the door. He tore through the hallway, out into the fog-drenched yard. The air outside was cold, almost suffocating. He didn't stop running until he reached the edge of the woods. Asterisk. He looked back. The house was gone. In its place was a field of ash and broken stone. He blinked, shaking his head. No, that's not possible. He took a step forward, and his foot hit something hard. It was a sign. Burned, half buried in the dirt, asterisk. He crouched, brushing away the ash. The letters were charred, but still legible. Greater than site of the Marshall Fire, -2009, for dead. Asterisk, his stomach twisted, his family name. Marshall. Asterisk. He stood, trembling. The fog thickened, curling around his legs. And then, faintly, he heard her voice again. Greater than Ethan. Asterisk, he turned. Nana stood a few feet away, her dress untouched by ash, her eyes glowing faintly in the gray. This isn't real, he whispered. Oh, but it is, she said softly. You just don't remember. Asterisk, he shook his head. You died, asterisk. Her smile widened. Not kind this time, but something else. We all did. Asterisk, he stumbled backward. No, I was on the road, asterisk, the road, she interrupted, stepping closer. It doesn't take you places, Ethan. It brings you back. Asterisk, the ground beneath him shifted, turning soft, spongy, like wet soil. The ash began to swirl around his feet. Asterisk, stop it, he shouted. Asterisk, but the air thickened, pulling him down. He fell to his knees, as the earth beneath him rippled, and faces began to emerge, pale, silent. Gasping faces pressing up from beneath the dirt. Asterisk, he tried to pull away, but invisible hands clutched his wrists, his legs. dragging him down, asterisk through the haze of panic. He saw one face clearly. It was his own. He screamed, and everything went dark. When he opened his eyes again, he was standing in front of the house. Whole, clean, perfect. The sky was blue, the air still. Asterisk Nana was on the porch. Smiling, asterisk, "Good morning, dear," she said. "Breakfast is ready." He stared at her, chest heaving. "No," he whispered. "No." But when he looked down, his clothes were clean. His hands unmarked. The world around him perfect and quiet once again. Asterisk, he turned toward the road. It stretched endlessly ahead, gleaming faintly in the morning sun. Asterisk, he could walk. He could leave. He took one step forward, and stopped, because just at the edge of the yard, half buried in the dirt, lay the same wooden carving. The one with his initials. He picked it up. The letters had changed. Now it read, "Greater than stay." The Road to Nana's House Part 4. The Loop of the Lost Asterisk. The sun hung low over Maple Hollow Road, casting long shadows that stretched like dark veins across the cracked asphalt. Asterisk Ethan stood at the edge of the porch, staring at the sky. The light looked wrong, too golden, too still, like someone had painted it and forgotten to let it move. The air shimmered faintly, heat waves dancing where there should have been wind. Asterisk behind him. The house creaked softly, breathing, listening. Asterisk he didn't move for a long time. He just watched the horizon, trying to remember what had happened. There had been fire, smoke, screams, then the road asterisk, then Nana's house. Asterisk, but every time he tried to remember more, his thoughts folded in on themselves, like pages stuck together. Asterisk, finally, he whispered, "I'm not supposed to be here." Asterisk from inside. Nana's voice floated out, calm, gentle. "Come in, dear. It's almost time." Asterisk, he turned. She stood by the door, holding a teapot. Her smile was perfectly kind, perfectly wrong. Asterisk, what time? He asked, his voice hoarse. Asterisk, time to stay. Asterisk, he shook his head. No, I'm leaving. Asterisk, her smile didn't fade. No one leaves the road, Ethan. You know that. Asterisk, I don't, he snapped. I don't know anything. Asterisk, she sighed softly, like a mother correcting a child. Then it's time you remembered. Asterisk, the air inside the house thickened, shadows lengthening, the walls groaning. The smell of lavender turned sharp, metallic dot. Asterisk, Ethan stepped back. Don't come near me. Asterisk, she didn't move, but the light behind her shifted. Her shadow stretched across the floor, impossibly long, reaching toward him. Asterisk, then, she spoke again, but her voice was not just hers. It was layered with others' whispers, cries, laughter, all twisting together into a single, terrible sound. Asterisk, greater than you left them, Ethan. Asterisk, he stumbled backward, heart pounding. Left who? Asterisk, the air shimmered. The walls flickered like old film, and for a split second, the living room was gone, replaced by the glow of fire. Asterisk, he saw himself younger, terrified, holding a steering wheel with blood on his hands. Smoke filled the car. Someone was screaming beside him, a woman's voice, desperate and broken. Then darkness. When the vision faded, he was back in the house. Nana stood in the same place, her smile sad now. Asterisk, you forgot, didn't you? She whispered. You took the back road that night. You said you'd be careful. But the storm came fast. Asterisk, Ethan's knees went weak. No, that's not true. Asterisk, she stepped closer. Your parents were waiting here. You were driving to see me. You never made it. Asterisk, he shook his head violently. Stop, asterisk, but flashes hit him again. Headlights rain. The blinding white of another car swerving into his lane. The sound of glass shattering. Then, silence. He fell to his knees, gasping, I died. Asterisk, Nana knelt beside him, her eyes shimmering. Yes, dear. You did. We all did. The fire took us after you crashed. The house burned, and the road? It kept you walking. Her hand reached for his, cold and soft. You've been coming back ever since. Asterisk, Ethan looked around the house, the trees, the endless road. Then why am I still here? Asterisk, because you never looked back, she whispered. You never forgave yourself. He stood up slowly. So this isn't real. Asterisk, it's as real as your guilt, she said. And guilt is the heaviest thing to carry on the road. Asterisk, he stared at the front door. The knob shimmered faintly, like something alive. He took a step toward it, and the floorboards beneath him groaned. Whispers rose again, louder this time. From beneath the wood, from the walls, from the air itself. Stay, stay, stay. He clutched his head. No, I'm done. Asterisk. He ran for the door, but when he opened it, there was no porch, no yard. Only the road, stretching out forever into fog. Asterisk, he stepped onto it, the mist curling around his legs. The air buzzed with static. He walked for hours, maybe days. The fog never lifted. The sound of his footsteps was swallowed by the emptiness. Asterisk, then, far ahead, he saw something, a light. He started to run. It grew brighter, warmer. A house came into view through the mist, familiar. Asterisk, his chest tightened. No, asterisk, the same porch. The same window. The same faint hum of a lullaby. Asterisk, he had walked the whole way, only to return to the same place. Asterisk, he screamed into the fog, his voice breaking apart. What do you want from me? From the window, Nana's face appeared, smiling softly, greater than to come home. Ethan collapsed on the steps, exhausted. Asterisk, he could feel something in his pocket. The small wooden carving he'd found before. He pulled it out. Asterisk, the word stay was gone. Now, carved into the wood, were new letters. Asterisk, greater than look beneath. Asterisk, he frowned. Beneath what? Asterisk, his gaze drifted toward the porch floorboards. The memory of whispers flooded back. Asterisk, no. He whispered. You can't mean, but he had to know. He pried up the first plank. Beneath it, there was only dirt. Then another. Then another. Asterisk. And then wood. A coffin lid. Asterisk, his breath hitched. He brushed away the soil. The lid was old, warped, the nameplate nearly unreadable. But he could make out 2 letters. E.M., his initials. Asterisk, hands shaking. He pulled the lid open. Asterisk, inside lay his own body, pale, burnt. the skin darkened by smoke and flame. The same clothes he'd worn when he arrived. He stumbled back, gagging. The air around him changed. The fog thickened. Shadows rippled across the ground. Then he heard footsteps, slow bragging, coming up the road. He turned. Figures were emerging from the mist, charred, broken, moving in jerks like marionettes. Their faces were half melted, but he recognized them, his parents, his friends. And behind them, dozens more, every person who'd died on the road. They surrounded the house whispering. Their voices overlapped, forming a single, endless sentence. Greater than no one leaves the road. Ethan backed toward the door. Stay away from me. The first of them, his mother reached out, her hand trembling. You promised you'd come home safe. I didn't mean. Her hand touched his arm. The skin beneath her fingers began to burn, blackening. He screamed and pulled away. The others moved closer. Their eyes glowing faintly. He ran into the house, slamming the door shut, but the knocking began instantly, echoing through the walls. Knock, knock, knock. It grew louder. Faster, until the entire house shook. He dropped to his knees, covering his ears. Please, stop. Then, suddenly, silence. He looked up. The air shimmered. The front door slowly opened on its own. Outside, the fog had cleared. The road was empty. The sky glowed faintly with dawn. And standing in the doorway was Nana, calm and smiling. It's time to stop running, she said. He shook his head weakly. I can't. Yes, you can, she whispered. You only have to remember how. He frowned. How what? How to go home. She reached out her hand. For a long moment he stared at it. Then slowly, he took it. The moment their hands touched, the world fell away. The walls dissolved. The floor vanished. He felt himself falling, weightless, endless, through darkness filled with whispers and flickers of memory. Then, softly, the darkness turned to light. He stood once again on the road. But this time, it wasn't foggy. It was clear. The trees were green. The air smelled of rain. Far ahead, he could see his car crashed, twisted around a tree, and inside it, his own body. He walked closer, feeling the warmth of the sun for the first time in years. Nana stood beside him. It's over, Ethan. He nodded slowly. It's time to go. She smiled. Then go. He turned toward the horizon. A faint light shimmered at the edge of the forest, golden soft. He took one step toward it, and the world began to fade. But just before he vanished, he looked back. The house stood quiet and empty. The road lay still. And for the first time, there was peace in the silence. The Road to Nana's House Part 5. The last turn. The morning light felt unreal, soft, like a veil draped across the world. Ethan stood at the edge of the wreckage, watching the smoke rise from the twisted frame of his car. Birds were singing somewhere far away, their voices hollow in the still air. The road stretched behind him in a perfect line, quiet and endless. For the first time, there was no fog, no whispers, just wind moving through the trees and the faint scent of pine. Asterisk, he looked down at the body inside the car. His own face, peaceful now, dusted with ash. Asterisk, it should have felt horrifying. Instead, it felt calm. Like the end of a long journey. Asterisk, behind him, a familiar voice said softly, "You finally found it." Asterisk, he turned. Nana stood on the side of the road, the same blue dress fluttering faintly in the breeze. But her eyes were different now. Clear, human, no glow. "I remember everything," he said quietly. She nodded. "Then you know why the road brought you back." Asterisk, he hesitated. "I never said goodbye." Asterisk, Nana smiled sadly. "You never had the chance." Asterisk, the trees rustled, and for a moment he saw other figures among them. His parents, his friends, everyone who had been lost to the fire. They watched silently, not in anger but in peace. Their faces softened by light. "You can still say it," she whispered. Ethan knelt beside the car, his hand resting on the cold metal. Asterisk, "I'm sorry," he said. "For the drive, for the fire, for running away. I didn't mean to leave you." Asterisk, the wind carried his words down the road. Somewhere far off, thunder rolled, not a storm, but a deep, gentle echo. Like the sky exhaling. Asterisk, when he stood again, the crash was gone. Only the road remained, bathed in golden light. They began to walk. Asterisk, Nana's footsteps made no sound. Ethan's shoes left no prints. Asterisk, the road curved slowly, bending toward the forest that shimmered ahead. Asterisk, he noticed something carved into the asphalt: names. Dozens of them, etched deep and glowing faintly. Asterisk, he crouched to read a few. James Marshall, Linda Marshall, Emily Dane. Then, near the bottom, his own name, Ethan Marshall. "They're all travelers," Nana said. "Everyone who found the road. It keeps our names until we let go." Asterisk, he looked up. "And if we don't?" Asterisk, "Then we walk it again. And again. Until the weight fades." Asterisk, the thought made his chest tighten. "How do you know when it's time?" "You stop looking back," she said simply. They walked a little farther. The forest ahead opened into a clearing filled with sunlight. At its center stood a gate made of old iron vines, and beyond it, light so bright it shimmered like water. Asterisk, Nana stopped before the gate. "This is where I leave you." Asterisk, Ethan turned to her, panic rising. "What do you mean?" "You're coming too." Asterisk, she smiled gently. "I already did, long ago. I just stayed to help you find the turn." Asterisk, he shook his head. "But I can't." Asterisk, her hand touched his cheek, cool and comforting. "You always could." She began to fade, her form scattering like smoke in sunlight. "Will I see you again?" he asked. Asterisk, her voice echoed softly, already distant. "Every time the wind moves through the trees." Then she was gone. Asterisk, Ethan faced the gate. The light beyond it pulsed faintly, warm and inviting. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. Asterisk, the metal was cool beneath his fingers. As he pushed, the gate opened with a sigh, and the world around him shifted. Asterisk, he felt the road beneath him dissolve, turning into mist. Then light, then nothing. Asterisk, memories rushed through his mind. Laughter in the kitchen. Rainy afternoons, his father's hand on his shoulder. Nana's lullaby. Asterisk, they didn't hurt anymore. They simply were. He walked through. The air grew brighter, each step lighter. The whispers faded, replaced by silence that wasn't empty, but full. Like the pause between heartbeats. Asterisk, he looked down once more at the carving in his hand. The letters had changed one last time. It no longer said stay. It no longer said, look beneath. Asterisk now. Carved deep and steady were the words, asterisk, greater than go home. He smiled, and as the light surrounded him, the road behind him vanished completely. Back in the world of the living, the forest stood silent. Asterisk, the old wreck of the car had rusted to dust years ago. The grass had grown over the asphalt, covering it like a blanket. Asterisk, if someone had been walking there that morning, they might have heard a sound faint, gentle, like a voice carried on the wind. Asterisk, greater than goodbye, Nana. Asterisk, then silence. Only the rustle of leaves, the hum of the earth. Asterisk, far away, in a quiet farmhouse that had long since burned and been rebuilt, a music box began to play. Its tune was cracked, but sweet, the same lullaby Nana once hummed. Asterisk, and somewhere beyond the light, Ethan opened his eyes to a sky that no longer held smoke, to a road that finally ended. Asterisk, he was home.